Namo Buddhaya. Welcome to Monks in the Morning from Colombo Dhamma Friends of Mahameunawa. The monks here are so happy to get the opportunity to spend time with you now. Have you ever been blamed for something that you didn't do? Most people have. It doesn't feel good, does it? We may even get angry at the person who's accusing us. And afterwards, most people don't learn anything from the situation. Maybe they just complain about the person who accused them. But do they attain the first stage of enlightenment from being accused? No. Well, today, we'll hear about a farmer who, with the help of the Supreme Buddha, was able to attain the first stage of enlightenment, learning from the situation of being wrongly accused. We'll also chant the dependent origination stanzas, so have your chanting book ready, or click on the show notes link to follow online. Now let's take the refuges and the precepts.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Saṅghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Dutiyampi buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Dutiyampi dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Dutiyampi saṅghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Tatiyampi buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Tatiyampi dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Tatiyampi saṅghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Say after me, I observe the precept of abstaining from killing beings. I observe the precept of abstaining from stealing. I observe the precept of abstaining from sexual misconduct. I observe the precept of abstaining from telling lies. I observe the precept of abstaining from taking intoxicating drinks and drugs. With the refuge of the Noble Triple Gem, I observe these precepts for happiness in this life, for rebirth in heaven, to escape from the sufferings of samsara. May it help me. May it be a blessing. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the Supremely Enlightened One. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo Buddhaya. Dear children, fortunately, we are hearing this Dhamma while we are learning other things. If you are only concentrating on the ordinary things that we get to hear, concentrating in school activities like studying, then sports, then playing games, if we are only engaged in those activities, children, we will miss something really valuable. And once you miss that valuable thing, you will live according to your own ideas, according to your wish, and as you want. Not at least the way that the parents want, not at least the way that the teachers want, not at least the way that the society expect. So that's because we are not living according to one thing, according to the truth. That truth was realized by the Buddha and the monks of Mahamevanawa Buddhist Monastery. With the guidance of our teacher, Most Venerable Kiribadgada Jnanananda Mahathera, we are teaching you from the original scriptures. Then you will get the chance to broaden your mind and to overcome a narrow mind. The ones who have narrow minds, they will do actions that they will regret in future and experience with weeping and tears streak face. Children, if you do not like to have a long face, a tear streak face, don't do actions that will lead you to such a state. The mind that says you to do bad things will ask you later, why did you do that? You wouldn't have done that. So, to deal with such a mind, we need to have a support. That support comes from the Buddha's teachings, children. So, let's learn this wonderful stanza before we go to the Dhammapada story. Now, children, say loudly after me. Natang kammang katang sadhu yang katva anuttappati yassa assu mukho rodang vipakang patisevati. Now children will learn the meaning of this. No deed is good that one regrets having done. No deed is good if the result is to be experienced with weeping and tear-streaked face. Now, children, we should be aware of good deeds and bad deeds. Then only we will be able to understand what is good and bad and protect our life and protect our mind and protect our happiness. And also the harmony that you should maintain at homes. What do you think, children? Imagine if your mother doesn't like you, if your father also doesn't like you, if the teachers doesn't like you, if the friends around you doesn't like you, how would you feel? Will you be happy? No. So will you be happy if no one likes you? No. So if you don't like that nature, imagine you don't have such a nature. some friends, you might have some friends, your parents will love you, but how can we increase that protection? How can we increase that happiness? The love and the protection that you get from your relatives, parents, and friends. By we showing loving kindness to them. Remember that today, children. So we shouldn't do acts that will regret in future. Let's learn the story, the background story for this stanza, why Buddha had to preach this Dhammapada stanza. Children, once some thieves, having stolen some valuables and cash from a merchant, from a palace of a merchant, there they divided that stolen property among themselves and dispersed. So, when they were running away with the stolen valuables, but a jewelry worth of 1,000 gold coins were dropped from one of the thieves in a paddy field. They stole, but see, even after stealing, they can't have what they stolen. So then, now this happened on the previous day. On the next day, Buddha saw this incident. Early morning, Buddhas will absorb to a special meditation, that is Maha Karuna Samapatti. Meditation on developing compassion to see to whom the Buddha could help on that day. Then Buddha saw this incident. Then Buddha decided to leave the monastery and help someone on that day. Now, one thief dropped one of the valuable jewelries. Now, since one jewelry was dropped in a paddy field, the farmer of that paddy field might fall in trouble. So then Buddha decided to leave the Jetavana monastery and went where that man was plowing his crops. Then Buddha went with Venerable Ananda, and then this man saw the Buddha far away and he worshipped the Buddha and he worshipped Venerable Ananda, and he got back to his normal activities, plowing the crops, taking care of the crop. So then Buddha continued walking, and then Buddha saw this valuable jewelry, but this man has not seen it yet, the jewelry that was dropped by the thieves. Now children, the thieves, from where did they steal the jewelry? From a merchant's palace. Okay. And then they divided that jewelry, and then one man dropped one. So now when Buddha was walking along his crops, in the walking path in between the crops, then Buddha saw this jewelry and said, Ananda, look at this snake. This snake is very venomous. Then Venerable Ananda looked at the jewelry, the golden jewelry, and said, yes, blessed one, look at, I see this venomous serpent. This is very poisonous. This snake is very poisonous. Then Buddha and Venerable Ananda had this conversation, and then Buddha and Venerable Ananda left. That man also started wondering, who's this poisonous snake? He was worried a little bit about this poisonous snake, and then he moved where the Buddha and Venerable Ananda had the conversation. Now this man, he went to where the Buddha and Venerable Ananda said about this poisonous snake, and after going there, he saw this amazing, valuable jewelry, and he covered with soil. Then in the meantime, children, that merchant reported to the king, and then the king sent the army to find out who has stolen this, to find out who has taken his belongings. Then children, the king's army, when they were going in search of the valuables, the stolen items, they were following the footprints. So one group of officials came to where this farmer was plowing his crops, where he has covered that with soil. Then there, these people who came, they found this jewelry, and they started beating this farmer without inquiring him. And then they took this farmer to the king, and then king punished him. King sentenced him to death. So this man, when he was taken along the road by caning him and taking him to the detention hall to kill him, to punish him, he was telling and yelling loudly. He was yelling loudly saying that, "Look, Ananda, this snake is venomous." Then he replied just what Venerable Ananda said, "Yes, Blessed One, indeed this snake is poisonous." So this man was repeating this. This man was repeating this again and again. Then the people who were taking him to the detention center, the army, they thought something, what is this man telling? What Buddha has got to do with this? Then they thought something might be valuable, something would have gone wrong. It's better to take this man back to the king. Then he was taken to the king, and then the king said, Pasenadi Kosala king said, okay, let's go to the Blessed One in the evening, and at the presence of the Buddha, let's sort out this problem. So then there he went to the Buddha, and then Pasenadi Kosala asked the Buddha, Blessed One, is this true, what this man says? Then the Buddha said, yes, dear king, I visited this person in the morning, and this man has nothing to do with this. So then what happened? Buddha preached this wonderful stanza. What is the stanza? We learn in the beginning of the sermon. Natang kammang katang sadhu yang katva nuttappati yassa asu mukhorodang vipakang patisevati. No deed is good that one regrets having done. No deed is good if the result is to be experienced with weeping and a tear-streaked face. Therefore, children, don't do actions that later regret. Therefore, children, let's take the Buddha's advice for our lives and not to do actions that we will regret in future. So finally, after hearing this stanza, that farmer became a stream entrant. Now, are we farmers? No. But at least try to become disciples of the Buddhas, even if you can't become stream entrant, just like that farmer did. At least try to become humble and obedient and practice this Dhamma wholeheartedly. Namo Buddhaya.
Paticca Samuppada, arising and cessation of causality. Turn to page 153 in your chanting books. Now we're going to recite a very special teaching from the Supreme Buddha. It's the exact knowledge he gained on the night of his enlightenment that allowed him to understand how this cycle of samsara works. And most importantly, this knowledge allowed him to put an end to the cycle of birth and death. It allowed him to share this special knowledge with others so they could also escape from samsara and attain nibbana. It ends with 2 verses he recited on that very same night. Now we'll chant in Pali and English.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Avijja paccaya sankhara sankhara paccaya viññānaṁ viññāna paccaya nama rupaṁ nama rupa paccaya salayatanaṁ salayatana paccaya bhasso Phassa-paccaya vedana, vedana-paccaya tanha, tanha-paccaya upadana, upadana-paccaya bhavo, bhava-paccaya jati, jati-paccaya jara-maranam, soka-parideva, dukkha-domanasupayasa sambhavanti evametassa kevalassa dukkha-khandassa samudayo hoti. Dependent on ignorance arises formations. Dependent on formations arises consciousness. Dependent on consciousness arises mentality, materiality. Dependent on mentality, materiality arise the six sense bases. Dependent on the six sense bases arises contact. Dependent on contact arises feeling. Dependent on feeling arises craving. Dependent on craving arises clinging. Dependent on clinging arises the arranging of karma. Dependent on the arranging of karma arises birth. Dependent on birth arises aging, death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair. Thus there is the rising of this whole mass of suffering. Avijjayatveva asesa viraga nirodha sankhara nirodho sankhara nirodha viññāna nirodho viññāna nirodha nama rupa nirodho nama rupa nirodha salayatana nirodho salayatana nirodha bhassa nirodho bhassa nirodha vedana nirodho vedana nirodha tanha nirodho tanha nirodha upadana nirodho upadana nirodha bhava nirodho bhava nirodha jati nirodho jati nirodha jara maranang soka parideva dukkha domanasupayasa nirujhanti evametassa kevalassa dukkha khandhassa nirodho hoti. Through the entire cessation of ignorance, formations cease. Through the cessation of formations, consciousness ceases. Through the cessation of consciousness, mentality, materiality ceases. Through the cessation of mentality, materiality, the six sense spaces cease. Through the cessation of the six sense bases, contact ceases. Through the cessation of contact, feeling ceases. Through the cessation of feeling, craving ceases. through the cessation of craving, clinging ceases. Through the cessation of clinging, the arranging of karma ceases. Through the cessation of the arranging of karma, birth ceases. Through the cessation of birth, aging, death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair ceases. Thus there is the cessation of this whole mass of suffering. Etena saccena suvatti hotu. By this truth, may there be well-being. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
I'm so happy that we were able to spend time together today. We hope that you learned something new, and we really hope that you can use what you learned as you go about the rest of your day. I love the story that we heard today. That poor innocent farmer got accused of stealing and was almost killed because of it. But do you remember what he said before they were about to kill him? He said, "Look at that poisonous snake, Ananda." The words of the Supreme Buddha. Now, when we see jewelry, do we think of it as a poisonous snake? Probably not. But the Supreme Buddha was correct. Because of jewelry, people steal. Because of stealing, people can get killed. When we think of it that way, jewelry is dangerous, isn't it? But this man was so wise that by hearing the words of the Buddha and seeing this situation, he was able to understand the Dhamma and attain the first stage of enlightenment. Now let's share merits. Today, in this short amount of time, we've done many powerful, wholesome acts of good karma. We've gone for refuge, you've taken the precepts, we listened to this teaching from the Supreme Buddha. All of these things, very wholesome actions. So when we do actions like this, we like for others to rejoice in this merit. So may all of our parents, our teachers, our relatives, our friends rejoice in this merit, and may they soon experience the supreme bliss of Nibbana in this Gautama Buddha's dispensation. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo Buddhaya.